get to the bottom of what's truly healthy in this crazy, complex world, so you can take back what is rightfully yours. Welcome to the Health Sovereign Podcast. This is your host, Logan Christopher.
Welcome back. In this episode, we continue the amazing discussion with Peter Ragnar, talking about time is not toxic and much more. Let's dive right in.
Do you have any other stories or any other areas where really you were engaged in a certain health practice, recognize it may not be the best thing, and possibly just because you were going too extreme with it and kind of went a different direction over the years?
Oh, I'm not as dogmatic about diet as I have been. And I think even some of the books that I've written, I come off as the true believer, and it tends to divide people. And I said, I think we all go through a process. We try this, we try that, and we end up finding what works for us. And basically, if it works for you, great. I'll keep my mouth shut, whatever you're doing. It's living this life free of judgment, free of condemnation, free of contention, which basically adds to your longevity and health. Too many people want to argue about diet. They want to argue about this and that, and that contentiousness basically poisons the body with stress hormones, and it shows. So I've seen that. I've experienced it. I've come the other way around. My wife accuses me of creating a lot of fanatics. And I said, no, everybody's got their own. Yeah, but they listen to you and what you've said in the past, which is one of the problems. If you said something in the past and you're not doing it today, and it's in print or in a format, audio format, or on a video, and you've changed your mind, people don't often understand that. You do the most amount of good and the least amount of harm, and you let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, I find reading my old books, I don't agree with myself quite often, which it sounds kind of bad, but I think it's actually a healthy thing because we should be evolving and hopefully, getting to a less dogmatic place. I think that is probably a natural thing. You get into something, you're super excited about it, you want to proselytize to everyone out there just because of how great it's helping you in whatever way. And then a little bit later on, you realize kind of the shades of gray of what was going on, or can just kind of relax and let go of the dogma, as you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty dangerous when you believe everything you think.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel that's especially important in the health because, people do get so radical. It's diet and politics are right up there, and just the controversy about them. But if I think pretty much everyone can agree that just eating real natural food, it's going to work pretty well for most people. That's the basic foundation that everyone can agree on. And then we can get into specifics on there and argue over it. But that needs to be that foundation there.
Yeah, I look around while people are contesting dietary ideas, and I think, who do I listen to? And I thought about that. And I said, well, who should I listen to? Well, obviously, the people who are doing it. Well, who's doing it? The world's oldest people. Listen to the people who live the longest, who are the healthiest, and find out what they're doing and see if that works for you. And that's the approach that I've taken. I've looked just like Buettner's book on the blue zones and the different areas where people live the longest on this planet. What are they doing? What are they eating? How do they live? And I think this is a big part of it too. It's about lifestyle. What is your lifestyle? How do I live? What do I do each day? When do I go to sleep? When do I wake up? How do I eat? What's my social interaction like? All of these things come to play, and it's not any one thing. There is no magic bullet. There is no magic herb. There's no magic food. There's no special, unique elixir somewhere. But there is when you put all the things together, put the pieces back together, and we become whole.
I think this idea also speaks to that both you and I are constantly experimenting with things, right? So you're intaking new information and then maybe, see they're eating this food in this blue zone, for example. So I'm going to add that to my diet, see what happens from doing that. And I think this is a healthy approach to life, because ultimately what science says or what your friend says doesn't necessarily mean something works for you. So you have to try things, and this is diet, supplements, lifestyle, behaviors, all sorts of different things to really find what works. And once you find what works, that doesn't mean it's going to work for the whole rest of your life. Things change over time. So I think that's a useful approach to how you should look at engaging in healthy behaviors.
Yeah, and I tell myself this all the time. I never assume that I have all the answers. Mm-hmm. And because I found out so many times when I did think I had the answers that they were wrong.
Yeah.
So it keeps you humble.
What would you say are some of your, we've kind of talked through them. I think time is not toxic would definitely fit as one of these, but what are some of your other foundational principles of health?
Oh, well, one of them is something many, many decades ago I wrote with soap on my mirror in the bathroom. So I would see this every time I walked into the bathroom. And what I wrote on there served me powerfully. What I wrote was, if it's to be, it's up to me. I'm responsible. What am I going to do about it? I'm responsible. What am I going to do about it? If it's to be, it's up to me. And I looked at that every morning. And that set the tone for my day. And then I realized that every morning when I woke up, I would think, what is the most difficult thing that faces me today? I will do that first before I do anything else. And usually I found out the thing that I dreaded doing the most was the most important thing that benefited my life. And by doing it first, I got it over with. I faced it. And so getting out of bed and facing what you need to do and do it. And, people ask me, how do you do this or how do you do that? And I said, that's a stupid question. You ask a kid, how do you jump off a diving board? You go out to the end and you jump. That's it. You just jump. Someone once asked me, well, how do I stop smoking? And I said, I'll give you the foolproof, absolute way not to smoke. Don't put the thing in your mouth.
Yeah, that's great, because that applies to health, but also so much more, right? It's really a foundational principle to guide your life by, and fits in with the name of this podcast, health sovereignty. Sovereignty is about taking that responsibility for yourself in a day and age when so many people, especially around the topic of health, do not take that responsibility. They want their doctor or the government or someone else to be responsible for their health for them.
Yeah, there's another one of my little sayings, one of my cliches that I've repeated over and over again. No one is coming to the rescue. Mm-hmm. No one's coming to the rescue, buddy. And coming to grips with that, even though there are people, your friends, your family. But if you take that attitude, nobody's coming to the rescue. You're out there. What are you going to do? It's motivating.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So coming back to the topic of time, I like to think of it as a myth that hormones fall with age. Now, just because this tends to happen for most people doesn't mean it's causative, right? The time itself is not the factor so much as what happens during that time.
Absolutely, Logan. Yeah. Not too long ago, both my wife and I, Katrina and I, both had our telomeres tested. Mm-hmm. And we did a number of blood tests. We found we were half our biological age. Yep. Our physical bodies were half of the chronological age. And what does that say? I see men in the gym and complaining about erectile dysfunction, prostate problems, lack of energy. And I think, it doesn't have to be that way. Mm-hmm. The readings from blood tests and things that I've done, I'm just like I was when I was 30. And I shake my head and I said, sometimes you say, well, you're lucky. No, yeah, I guess you could say I'm lucky. I'm lucky that I've done the things I did. I'm lucky I made the decisions I made. But luck is noticing. Luck is about noticing. You become very, very lucky when you notice things. And if you notice something's going downhill and you don't want it to go downhill, that's being lucky, because now you do something about it. Mm-hmm. And like we were saying, time isn't toxic. Time doesn't kill you. You rip all the pages off the calendar and it doesn't mean a thing. You don't hurt. You throw your clock out, it won't hurt you. Here we are, and it's what we do.
Yeah, so regarding the hormones, I think of them as chemical messengers. That's what they're doing in their body. And something I've been thinking about is that the hormones, sure, they cause things. They're very important for our health, but they're not really the root cause of the issue because they're just messengers. They're passaging messages from one part of your body to another and in turn triggering kind of the outside environment and how we're like, you lift a heavy weight that is triggering your body in a certain way and it can ramp up hormones, for example. So the hormones themselves aren't root cause. So trying to fix them by like getting testosterone replacement therapy, it's still really a Band-Aid approach, kind of like most of Western medicine, versus really kind of understanding that if you do the right things, natural living that we talked about, a healthy diet, the right kind of exercise, that largely the chemical messengers will in turn take care of themselves.
Exactly. Provide the proper terrain, the proper environment, and the body knows what to do. It knows how to do it. It does it naturally. I heard an interesting way it was illustrated just the other day, and I thought this was brilliant. They said, you have a lake that's become stagnant. No water is moving through it, and it starts to stink. It has a sludge on it. And it's covered with mosquitoes. And you have swarms and swarms of mosquitoes. Well, one approach is to come in there with DDT or something powerful like that, kill all the mosquitoes, and now you have no more mosquitoes. But soon the mosquitoes appear again because the lake is filled with their larvae. Their eggs are all over the place. It's the terrain that attracted the eggs. And when we change the terrain, when we change and clean the water, we don't have the other things. And so with the body, when we adjust the terrain to its natural organic state, all these other things, the tumors, the cysts, the infections, the inflammation, all of these things are absent because they require a different type of terrain. They require a polluted water. And if the water's not polluted, it doesn't happen. The water flows smoothly and none of that stuff is there. And I thought that was beautifully described because, like you said, so often we look for the magic bullet and say, well, if I have an inflammation, let me take this shot to get rid of it and blah, 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 blah. Take this medicine, take this particular thing, and it'll all be well. I'll be well. But it's all with changing the condition of the body to its natural state.
I don't know if you heard about this, but the metaphor there of the mosquitoes brought it to mind how in Brazil they released genetically modified mosquitoes that were supposed to kind of self-terminate. The next generation was just supposed to die out. And surprise, surprise, it did not work out like they planned. They are not dying off and they're now more robust and everything's like, yeah, I didn't think that was a good idea going in.
Yeah. That is interesting. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So speaking to ecology or the terrain, which, I feel if this is one of the things that it's in any sort of holistic system of medicine, of health, they're looking at the body more as an ecology, as that terrain, rather than like the body as a machine. And the metaphors we use to think about things really impact so much what we're doing. If you think of the body as a machine, let's just replace a part or let's just add in this thing that's missing. Whereas it's the ecology is like, okay, what can we do to tweak things so that then the ecology kind of takes care of it itself. So we've talked about many different things here on this call. Is there any other aspects? What really helps a person to take care of that terrain well?
Well, what belief helps? The fact that we're more powerful than we ever believed we could be, that we realize that there's an intelligence in the body and the way it functions that is hard to mentally grasp. The functions of the body operate flawlessly under their own laws. And as long as we don't start to try to manipulate or, as you said a moment ago, replace the parts, the body knows how to heal itself. It knows how to come back to center. I don't have to do anything for my body to heal itself, to come back to center. All I have to do is find that middle space, that balance point, and not too much this way, not too little that way, just finding center and mentally coming back to center. I never have to worry about a cut healing itself. Why would I worry about anything else healing itself? It's a natural process. All I have to do is get out of the way and let it happen. And that's a conviction that I hold and I've held for a long, long time. I'm amazed by it. You're just coming back down to mentally settling, finding a sweet spot. And I think we can do that when we learn to deal with our thoughts, settle our thoughts, spend more quiet time. Find that time every day just to sit, to walk, to be in the woods, be in nature, walk along the shoreline, watch the waves on the ocean, go out at night, look at the starry sky, and just stand there awestruck. Do that, and we're healed.
Yeah, that brings up a very interesting point. So the body has a natural healing process, and you don't have to do anything. So to actually stop this process requires you doing something. It's interesting to think about people that have chronic pain for 20 years or so. Every single cell in their body gets turned over, gets changed out in less of a time frame from that. Even super dense cells like bones get changed out every 7 or 9 years, something like that. So there must be a belief or something that is blocking that healing process from going on in the first place. Like you said, a cut will just naturally heal. So I think that's a fascinating answer. Do nothing, come back to center, and allow the healing to take place.
Yeah, and it's the same way of dealing with pain. And someone was asking me about pain the other day. He said, well, how do you handle pain? And I says, I don't. I welcome it. I said, show me what you got. And guess what? Pain gets scared. It runs away. It runs away. It says, this guy, he's nuts. I said, no, I don't resist pain. There's nothing to resist. Pain is simply the fear of the pain, the thought about pain, the thought about suffering. I don't have that. It's a sensation. If I have a pain, if I stub my toe or break a bone or whatever, I said, okay, it's a sensation. My body knows how to handle this. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to interfere by getting emotional about it. It's just a pain, for heaven's sakes. That's all. It's just a pain. Let it be. Resist not the pain, and it will go away.
And it goes back to the noticing, right? I mean, pain is a signal, and hopefully you can learn from that signal, especially if it's something you did to yourself, then you can avoid doing it in the future.
I talked to myself. I said, Peter, don't do that again.
All right. If people have liked what they heard today, want to check out more information about you, do you have certain places you'd like them to go?
Well, I've got a huge following on Facebook. Facebook is a nice place to start. And also I do have a website. It's longevitysage.com or simply peterragnar.com. And YouTube, by the way, I have, there must be, 75, 80 videos on herbs and health on YouTube. And, so many of the different herbs that you offer, Logan, I get to talk about them on YouTube. And it's a pretty exciting place to be. Also, you can go on Amazon and look up Peter Ragnar and see what some of my books are on there. Most of my books are out of print, though a recent one that is on Kindle, it's free on Kindle, and it's called Finding Heart, How to Live with Courage in a Confusing World. There's a lot of stuff out there. I don't even know what's out there.
Well, that's okay if it's out of print because you disagree with yourself from back then, right?
True.
Okay, Peter, thank you so much for joining me once again today.
Logan, it's always a pleasure, my friend, and I really appreciate you. I appreciate all that you do, and this is always good. It's always good.
All right, thank you. And everyone listening, you can find the links on the show notes over at healthsovereign.com. This was first interview, for the Health Sovereign podcast, but the first of many, and I hope you've enjoyed this. Would love to hear your feedback on it, and as always, reviews on iTunes or wherever else helps to spread this message out to other people. Thanks so much for listening.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.